All right, guys, let's get started. Hopefully, everyone's having a great day. Looking forward to being with all of you. And we've got Brett Belknap in the house. So it should be a great day. Let me just get him tagged in here. Maybe, Russ, if you've already unmuted him.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. There
Nice.
you are. Great. Perfect.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you. All right. So, hey, give us just a little bit of information in regards to just who you are. And I know you didn't grow up in Salt Lake City, Utah. I know that you're from a little further east. So give us just a little bit of background on who you are, how old you are, how long you've been in the business, and then we'll get rolling from there.
Cool. Well, I'm originally from Michigan. I grew up there until I in high school. Then I went to BYU for a year. I decided to go on an LDS mission at 19. I served my mission in San Diego. I have actually a lot of the companions that I served with in San Diego have decided to get into real estate or and are on my team or around me in some capacity. And so that's been really, really cool to see kind of the rewards of building relationships as a missionary into going into my vocation and still working with those same people. So, yeah. And then I came back to Utah. I was going to BYU for a little bit. I was planning on actually getting licensed and going out to California, going back to San Diego. But I ended up meeting this girl and she was planning on going into the Air Force. And I'm like, all right, baby girl, let me cut you a deal, sweetie. I'm like, I'm like, look, if you prolong going into the Air Force for 1 month, I will prolong going into California and getting my real estate license in California, and let's just take it from there. And so, several years later, I'm married with that girl, and we have a beautiful baby daughter. And I decided when we started getting really serious and decided not to go to California, I took my real estate courses here in Utah. I tried to get licensed as soon as I could. I got my courses done in like 3.5 weeks, and I was like, okay, time to do this. The interesting thing was my wife.
How long ago was that, Brett?
Well, I've been telling people 7 years, but actually we did the math the other day, and I've only been doing real estate for like 5 years. So it's been shorter than I thought.
Okay. You're having
2015.
so much. You're having so much fun.
Exactly, man. It's been going really quick. And as I was getting my real estate license, another thing that my wife was worried about was she had seen people that were very close to her that were supposed to provide for her that were not able to because they were entrepreneurs and they failed in that endeavor. And so I had a real commitment to myself and to my girlfriend at the time that I would do everything in my power to work hard, to learn everything that I needed, and to be successful both financially as well as being able to provide for her and our future family. So that was a very important commitment that I had even before I got into real estate. And then I
That's
made.
great. I love that. I love that. Well, we talk about just is there security in this business, and there really is, as long as you treat it like a job, which is no question. So, talk a little bit about just, I mean, and talk now today about what you obviously you're a team leader. You have a great team. I've spent quite a bit of time with your team. Uh, but initially, when you started, like, first of all, what intrigued you to even get into real estate? Like, why real estate, and what made you get into that? And then let's move into what your team is today and how you're doing business today. But what is it that got you into real estate? Why were you so intrigued to go get your license, whether it be California or Utah?
Yeah, I mean, I always decided that I wanted to be financially free and that I wanted to have money so that I could live the life that I wanted to. And so I was spending months and months learning about the stock market and business building and investing and real estate and every different kind of vehicle that you could use to invest. And I looked at real estate and I'm like, okay, I can do real estate. I can learn the ins and outs of investing if I get my real estate license. And I knew that I had a natural propensity towards talking with people, and I enjoyed. I'm more of an extrovert. I like arguing and debating, and I've always liked doing that. And so I figured, look, I can get into real estate. I think I can do well, but more importantly than anything, I can learn how to invest in real estate. I can get some deals. I can build my portfolio, and I can do that as I grow my stock portfolio, and hopefully, by the time I'm 40, I can retire and I can have passive income. So I got into real estate wanting to do that, and then as I did real estate, I realized, man, this is kind of a blast. Like I love people. I'm working with incredible people. I'm learning about themselves, about their family. I'm benefiting their life. I'm learning about their kids and putting them in better school districts, and I'm seeing the kind of growth that these families are having. And the more that I got to learn about other people, I really had kind of an evolution, I feel like, in my personality from the time that I was in high school, where I felt like I was very self-centered and I thought about myself and I thought about how I could better myself, maybe at the expense of other people. And then I went on my mission. And I feel like that was a real opportunity for me, kind of for the first time in my life, to look beyond myself and look at other people and how things impacted them and how they felt about things. My entire life was just competition, 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 destroy every single person in your wake if possible. Right. And I realized, like, some people's values are not competition. Some people's values are safety and security and love. And that was like a different view on the world. And so I went on my mission and I realized, man, there's so many different personalities and needs that people have. I started seeing people more for who they were and what they wanted and who they wanted to be. And so I was able to even feel that more in real estate, but also get that need that I have for competition and drive and accomplishment and success. And so it was kind of like, for me, the perfect marriage of feeling like I was bettering people's lives, being rewarded for that, but still that, like, that sense of, hey, this is sports. There are other competitors around me that I can learn from, that I can grow from. They can push me to accomplish more, and I can see what they're good at. And then I can work even harder than them. I can work longer hours. I can work more intentionally on my skills. I can look them in the eyes and say, hey, you might be better than me right now, but I'm going to be better than you one day. And that, like, again, married with the fact that the better I can become as Brett Belknap, the real estate agent, the individual, the husband, the father, the more that I can benefit all of my team members, the more that I can benefit my family, my friends, the community around me, and the people that I work with.
Love that. That's powerful, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
So good. And you're in fact, I remember even that transition. I remember, like, years ago, I realized that, man, what I'm more interested in is creating something than competing with something. And the reality is, we live in such an abundant earth and such an abundant world that we have the capacity to go out and create. And if you, I love, actually, Zig Ziglar's statement is this, and he said something, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, hey, look, the greatest competition is what did you do in relationship to what you could have done. I mean, that's the only measuring stick, because in the end of the day, who gives a heck what we're doing in relationship to other people? It's what did you do in relationship to what you could have done. So let's switch gears. So what would you tell someone who's just starting out in this business? What would you tell them they should be doing? What to give maybe an insight to their schedule, maybe a little bit of insight into some of the things they should be doing from a mental side, maybe a skill side, a discipline side, an activity side. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting out? And then that also applies that if someone has been kind of in a funk, in a kind of a rut, and kind of trying to get back out of that, what would you tell that person? And it really applies to that new licensee or that person who's just stuck. What would you tell them?
That's a good question. I think I would say, before you even do anything, before you engage in any activities and just try to get on the phones and start doing it, I would say, like, take a second and evaluate what you're good at and what you're not good at. I think the more clear you can get on what your strengths are, like, at the very top of the hierarchy, what is the thing that I am very best at? Is it the fact that I can outwork people and I am more disciplined and determined and I can work long hours? Or is it the fact that I'm a people person? I can connect with people. I care more about them. I'm able to engage in small talk and even very in-depth conversations and understand where people are coming from. I think if you can get clear on what it is that your skills are, then you can try to put yourself in a position where you can exhibit those skills more and more often. And so, like, I think about when I've read some of the best books about CEOs that come into, or if you've ever watched, like, The Profit with Marcus Lemonis, CEOs that come into businesses that are failing, instead of immediately barking around orders and saying, you're not doing this right, we need to make this more productive, we need to do this. Instead, they go from the approach of asking questions and understanding. And I think if you can take that kind of perspective and be a little bit more introspective in the first couple of weeks of your business, you can go to people that are doing well and you can see what they're doing well. You can see why they are doing well. You can see what their methodology is. You can look around and you can also look at examples of people that are not doing well. Where are they spending their time? What are they talking about? Who are they with? And I think that if you can come up with a formula, the first thing that you do is you take the best, almost in a scientific approach, you take your very best hypothesis of what you think is going to work, and then you go and test it. And you try to come up with variables on, I need to spend my time here. I need to do this. I need to spend this amount of time working on my skills. I think everybody's formula is going to be different, and there's probably not a right answer. It really just depends on where you come from and where your skill set is. But the idea is that you create a hypothesis, you test a hypothesis, and you are willing to change it every single second that you get something new, you get new data, you come up with a new conclusion, and then you take that variable and you go and test it and retest it. And I feel like that's kind of one of the things that I've tried to implement in my business, is coming more from a curiosity approach, and then testing the things that I feel like work, or that I've seen other people work, either in this company or in the Utah real estate market, or even across the country. And I've tried to implement some of those things. And many of them have worked, many of them have not worked. And so I've discarded some tactics and strategies. I have I have loosened my grip a little bit with my leadership and my standards and expectations, but I've instituted other standards and policies that I feel like are more effective for my team and where they're at as individuals and where I want my team to go. And so I've just tried to be nimble, I guess, and agile, and test and then retest, and then always be willing to remain humble and more dedicated to the results that I can get instead of the activities that I've been engaged with up until this point. Because at the end of the day, like I can either continue to do what I want to do or what I think will work, or I can do what actually works, and I can get some feedback from the market and from my agents and from my clients, and then I can implement those even better. I think we lost George, or maybe we lost me.
Oh, you're still there, Brett. I think George, something happened with him. I'm not sure.
Okay. So I guess while George is trying to get back online, just so we don't have silence, I just say like some of the things that I've worked on, like with my team. I've tried to be like super mandated as far as like my team schedule. I've tried to get everyone to follow a time block, and a time block would essentially be from like 8 until 9. The team will have a team meeting where we'll talk about different lessons, principles. We'll look at market data. We'll try to follow that regimented, and then the entire team would go into a different time block. So from 9 until 10, it would be admin time. And what I found is there are things that I think that we need to engage in as an entire team that are powerful and that are helpful and meaningful. And so I do require everyone on my team to show up at 8 o'clock, and we have a team meeting from 8 until 9. It allows us to create a direction and a culture for our team and where we want to go. It allows us to work on what I feel like are maybe our inadequacies. And it allows us to refocus on what we want. But I'm not requiring everyone on my team to follow the same time block for the entire day, because I feel like I want to give people some kind of autonomy. I want to allow people to feel like they are, also their own CEO, and that they're building their own business. And so I have changed things as I've gone along, and as I found things that are more beneficial to my team and gives them the rewards that they're looking for. I've tried to be nimble and go with the things that I feel like are most beneficial instead of just some regimented schedule.
So, Brett, one of the things that was interesting to me years ago, so over 25 years ago, you're nailing it, and that is that awareness and that consciousness, and just looking around and observing. You'll hear someone like a Tony Robbins will say, "Success leaves clues," right? If you want to make a particular recipe of a particular dessert, let's say he uses always the example of chocolate cake and says, "Hey, success leaves clues, and if you just follow the recipe, you're going to get the same chocolate cake." And I remember years ago, well before I heard something like that, I remember I just sat down and I was observing people around me. In fact, it's actually her birthday today, Joan Pate. And some of you may know, of course, know Joan Pate. But Joan Pate, when I got into the business 26 years ago, was doing over 300 transactions a year. I mean, that was just unheard of. I mean, obviously, your group's doing a couple hundred transactions a year today. But when she was doing that, it was unheard of. She sold a home a day, over 365 homes a year. I met her. And I remember writing down on a sticky note, I still have it at my home today, in a little folder, and it says, "What do top producers do?" And I started taking 2 or 3 sticky notes and pasting them together and recognizing that there's just these things that happen in every single successful business. And that's where I came up with that foundation. And still to this day, it still controls me. I mean, meaning it's the thing I look to when I'm off. And that goes back to that fact that I look at people who move their life with a deep sense of purpose are the ones who seem to be most committed to either helping people, moving and helping themselves, moving through their lives, helping others. There's a deep sense of purpose. Then they move from making sure that they have goals, plans, and a schedule. And I started looking, going, man, does Joan have those things? And I look at them like, my goodness gracious, yes, of course she has goals, plans, and schedules. Like she knows what she's doing. Then you move to mindset, skills, and discipline. And I started observing and looking at the things that she was doing, and then looking at the volume that she did. I remember the last thing I wrote down was systems and strategies, knowing that if you do that high level of volume, you have to have some level of a system or a strategy, the way in which you're doing your business. So I think it's pretty profound in regards to how you're observing and reflecting upon what others are doing. And obviously, the great differentiator to everybody is action. And so people may know all the answers to the test, or the words I've often said is, I know what I'm supposed to do, I just need to do it. So what would you say to the person now who has observed, who has seen, who knows what they're supposed to do, just needs to do it? What would you say to that person? How do you get them activated? How do you get them moving? How do you get them moving down the pathway of some level of success?
Okay. I use an analogy because it's close to my heart right now. If you follow college football at all, you know that Michigan and Ohio State have a incredible rivalry that's been going on for over a century. And this last week, Ohio State and Michigan were scheduled to play each other, and they didn't for COVID-related reasons. And I actually put on my gratitude list. I'm grateful that Michigan didn't play Ohio State this week because we would have got annihilated. Not having a good year, and Ohio State's having an incredible year. And I guess I'm pointing to this for this reason. The culture of a program in college football is so important. Like Jim Harbaugh, the coach for Michigan, has done a good job, an above average job. We're almost top 10 in recruiting talent every single year. But the difference between the talent that we have on campus and the ability for the players to outplay whoever they're playing has not materialized. And so I think Ohio State over the past 20 years has done just an incredible job of having talent, but transitioning that talent into on-field play. And I think that there's an element of culture that I'm trying to get to. Ohio State has a culture where you're successful. I don't know the nuances of it because obviously I'm not there, but I imagine it's some kind of combination of good weight room, good strength and conditioning coaches, good dieting. They're focused on the off season. They're working together. The team feels like one unit. When they are at practice, they listen to their coaches. They're humble. They're confident. They do the things that they need to do, and then it obviously materializes on the field. And so I say, if you know what you need to do, and if you know the activities, and you know your strengths, and you know yourself, which I think to take that for granted, I think that would be probably like too quick to do, because I think that you might know who you are, but the more that you put into play and implement it, the more that you'll learn actually who you are. That's at least been my experiences. I had an idea of who I was, and that has definitely evolved in good ways and bad ways. But it's helped me become more clear on who I am and what I need to work on. But once you learn that, I think that you really should just surround yourself by people that have similar goals to you, where you guys can get on to the same page, where you're maybe on the same schedule, or you're calling people at the same time, and then you're keeping yourself accountable. And so I would say, understand your metrics. You guys already talk about it every single morning. You reiterate it as you do it, 30 contacts, 150 a week, and it goes line by line. If your business model is any different than what you guys are sharing with the company, I would say get clear on what your metrics are. Do it with somebody that you admire, that you look up to, and that if they gave you criticism, that you would not have resentment for. I think that there needs to be some kind of pure intentions. If you're surrounded by somebody that is just trying to one up you, it's just not going to be a successful relationship. Business partner, team lead, agent to broker. It's not
coach, right? Coaches.
Yeah.
hiring coaches, bringing people into your life that are going to help direct you, right?
Yeah. So I think
Okay.
like,
What would you say then is a minimum standard? I mean, obviously, but for your team, what's a minimum standard in regards to prospecting?
so on my team, we have to have at least 500 calls a week. That's 100 a day. Obviously, that's the minimum threshold. I then also, like this, to the point that I was trying to make earlier, I have tried to be much more flexible with my team structure and my standards. And so there are people on my team who, have a goal of closing 20 deals, and some people have a goal of closing 50 deals. And so the people that have a goal of closing 20 deals, I create different standards for them, and I have different expectations for them. And I've tried to have the same expectation for everyone on my team, and I just realized it's not good leadership from my perspective. Maybe other people disagree, but like I think that real leadership, not to get too theological, but like I think that we all come to earth with different strengths and weaknesses and inadequacies and propensities to problems. And I think that God gives us different situations and puts different people into our lives so that we can learn specifically on the needs that we have. I try to do the same thing with my team, which is every person that is struggling making calls, then that would be the focus of my relationship and my one-on-ones with them. It would be making calls, having good calls, having meaningful conversations, and what that looks like and what that means. And then tracking all those numbers, sending them to me at the end of the night, and then having a conversation about what you learned. Other people, I know that they're going to make their calls, and so I set a higher standard for what I think that they should be making, and then we look at how that's going, and then we investigate. Hey, look, you're meeting the metric of calls, you're meeting the metric of appointments, you're meeting the metric of appointments made, but we're missing out on some buyer brokers or exclusive right to sells. So then, with my training with them or my conversation with them, will be more revolving around that discipline right there. And so we are always trying to work on different things cumulatively as a team. We're going in a direction of growth and more closings and more influence and helping more people. But specifically for every agent, I'm coming up with metrics for them that are most meaningful to them. Mindset, all the things that you already preached, George.
Right.
I basically just copied it, and then I just tried to get clear on what every person is dealing with.
I
And
like it.
yeah.
But to your point, everyone has a different objective. And actually, it's something that I've said for years. I never have any. And I think that what I'm hearing from you is you're not going to define success for that person. What you're saying is look, I'm okay if you want to do 20, 25 deals. I'm okay if you want to do 50 deals or more. Now let's put together a plan, a schedule, activities that align you with the goals that you've set, and that your flexibility is you can sell less or you can sell more. Once we've defined where you're going, now let's create a plan, a structure. Let's review it. Let's stay accountable to it. Let's take actions toward it. And it works, which I love. I mean, to your point, I've said this, some people are excited that they're 6 feet above ground. Others are like so angry that they don't have $1 million sitting in the bank. Each one of us defines success in many different ways. Sometimes it's success within our families, success within our community, success in our business, success in our health. Each one of us has different barometers to what that success looks like and what our desires are, what our dreams are, what our goals are. So I think it's a great statement to your point of what is great leadership. It's simply this, in my opinion. It is helping an individual get to the next level, whatever that level is. Whatever that level is, we help them get to the next level. And if you can help them get to the next level, you create a culture and an environment where people literally, I believe, will follow you to the ends of the earth because of what you've helped them do in helping them get to the next level in their life, whatever part of that life that we're trying to help them in.
Yeah,
So that's great.
I've had some losses as well in this category that have also helped me understand more what I want and what I'm trying to accomplish. And so, like what you said, I like the way that you said it. I'm not trying to define their success, but I do have requisites for values, and that's something that I think I've compromised on at different points in my career, is aligning myself with people that don't share similar values. We might have different targets for success, and that's okay. Different amount of closings, different amount of money made. That to me really is irrelevant. But there are things that I'm not willing to compromise on, which would be first and
Right.
foremost that we are doing this for our growth and for the ability that we have to lead our family, and in an equal amount to the people that we are influencing and bettering. I have worked with people that have been only focused on the amount of money that it makes them. And when you have that belief, I feel like it within your actions are manifested. You will eventually see the manifestation of bad behaviors or ill intentions, because you cannot be consistent with that being the hierarchy of what you want, making money, but then also still offering people better service and helping them and giving and being transparent in moments that you need to be in order to share with them information that's vital to them. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is I am willing to compromise on goals, but I'm not willing to compromise on values, because one person with values that disalign with the team can bring the entire team down.
Well done. Well said, man.
Or within
You know,
yourself.
it's interesting. You're well beyond me in years in regards to where I was figuring that out. And it took me several years in my career to figure that out clearly. In fact, today, what hangs on my wall, Brett, is 5 principles of what I call either to be true leadership or true friendship, or let's just say a team member that I would want to associate with. And on my wall, it says, number 1 is to have integrity, and that your life, no one's perfect, but that we're striving for that integrity. The second is that I create an environment of gratitude where there's a thankfulness for one another and an appreciation for one another, an appreciation maybe for a friendship, a team leader, team member, whatever it may be, and the gratitude for a client, right? The third thing I have on this list is loyalty, right? Not loyalty in regards to some weird thing, loyalty in the sense that it doesn't mean you don't put yourself at some level at times first, but you also are loyal to the cause, loyal to the direction, loyal to the goals, loyal to the intentions of what's going on, loyal to yourself in regards to your integrity, your gratitude. And then the fourth and fifth are forgiveness, and making sure that, look, on a team, you know this, in teams or in companies or in associations, friendships, marriages, whatever it may be, we have to be willing to forgive one another, because the fact is we're going to make mistakes. And I've always spoken to this, that forgiveness is interesting, is that can you forgive with someone even not even saying they're sorry? That is a great talent, skill set, and a great human who's capable of forgiving one another when the other person has never even said they're sorry, or if they've been hurt by it. And then the last thing on that list is vulnerability, being able to show who we really are, not someone who we aren't, not being fake, not being unauthentic, but truly being authentic, real, honest, truthful, vulnerable as to who we really are. And my observation is that when I find a friendship or an environment or a team that has gratitude, integrity, forgiveness, loyalty, and vulnerability put in place, it's crazy how good the environment becomes, because it's value based. Those are values, not necessarily defined goals and objectives and, conquering the mountains and planting our flag in the hill. Those are different conversations, but values are very, very different. And you see that, just for perspective, that when values change and one partner or one spouse has radically different values in their life, you see those marriages or those partnerships or those relationships tear apart very, very quickly. And they either tolerate one another, or of course they separate from one another, because the values are what draw them apart.
Yeah. I guess last point I would say is just clearly throughout my career, and even now, there are times when I don't align with my values, right? I just said that I need to be more focused on the influence that I have on my client compared to what I make. And there are times, like, seconds where I find myself focusing on how much money I'm going to make in this transaction. And I think that's natural, but I think what I try to do, like, I've studied a lot of psychology and I love psychology. There's Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung and Carl Rogers, they kind of talked about this idea that, like, we have multiple personalities, that if you're hungry, you're not only hungry, or if you're frustrated, you're not only frustrated, you're frustrated, but then within that, you have several different personalities that are being enacted inside of you and that you're manifesting out to the world. And so I guess I would say, like, I try every single day that when the personalities that I don't idealize come out, that I just do my best to to subvert them and kill them off slowly. And I think that like that's the process of life and businesses. Nobody's going to come into real estate and be able to do what you do on the level that you do it. Nobody possesses those skills. And we all come in with inadequacies and deficiencies. And the best thing that we can do is try to figure out who we want to be, figure out where our ideals lie, and then try to, when the personalities come out that are not in line with that we become more and more congruent by trying to kill that off, or not focus on it, or put ourselves into a different state where we are grateful. There are tactics that you can use in order to try to go away from the commission and go towards the value that you bring to somebody. And so, that's why, again, I say like the culture that you're around is extremely important, because they're going to be the people that you spend your time with, the kind of things that you say, the language that is spoken, the things that you focus on, and the state that you're going to be in. And so if you can be surrounded by people that have values that are in line with you, then you can maybe throw away the parts of you that you don't like, or the parts of you that are not benefiting other people. And you can slowly, by focusing on the other things that I just talked about, you can slowly become the person that you want to become as you idealize that.
Absolutely. Well, hey, such extraordinary stuff, man, such good stuff. And one of the things that I've found in the time that we've been able to spend together is that you have a very caring heart, a very sincere heart. My observation is I've watched you be very loyal. I've watched you be very vulnerable. I've watched you move through this business, and it's been very, very cool to see what you've done, man. And I want you to know how proud I am of you, and I know that everyone is very proud of you, watching your growth, your success, your team, and you should be very, very proud of that, and we're grateful for you. So, one, any last thoughts? And I just want to say this before you give us your last thoughts. So be thinking just any last thoughts, but there's two things I would encourage everybody to do today. Just take a moment and ask yourself where you're going in your life from a standpoint of defining for yourself success in three areas: your family or your relationship specifically, your health, and your economics or your business. Define success in your health, your relationships, and your business. And then the second component to that, I would just encourage everybody who's listening today, just take the time to identify what are your values. What do you value most? What are your strongest values? Is it integrity? Is it love? I mean, you've mentioned a lot of values along the way, Brett, with everything you shared. So I would just ask people to get really clear on what they value most. Get clear on your values, get clear on your definition of success. I can tell you that as you do that and you move into this new year of 2021, it will be a much better year because you're clear on what you value most, and you are clear on where you're trying to take your life in regards to the success of your health, your relationships, and your business / the economics of it. So with that, Brett, finish this up and we'll jump into some affirmations. Any last thoughts, any last comment that you would make, any advice, any counsel, anything that you want to say that you may not have?
Yeah, I guess one thing I could just say to go on to what you're saying is, when you figure out what your values are, you're spending a majority of your life in your career, 8-10 hours a day. And if you map that onto how much you're going to spend that the rest of your life, like it's an incredible amount of time. And so figure out what your values are, but then figure out how you can reach the values within your career. For me, I love communication. I love sales. I love psychology. I love understanding how the mind works and how that's expressed in your body and the nuances of communication. And so I am very passionate about that. And when I come to my career, and when I wake up every morning and I come into my day and I realize that this is a career that I'm involved with, that as I work towards things that I'm passionate about, that I feel like are fulfilling my values, then I love what I do. You know what I mean? I think that it's easy in real estate to get focused on just the metrics. And maybe that's what I've been talking about this entire time, but like you just focus on the metrics, they help you accomplish what you want, but you may be missing out every single day on the things that you enjoy or you passionate about or that help fulfill you in a more global way. And so like if you love communication, focus on it and focus on how you can learn today and then how you can implement the things, or use other ancillary information like YouTube or books or things that can fuel you. If you're interested in understanding how to work hard, then like get really regimented and allow it to fuel you so that you can enjoy what you do more often. I think that's the way to have longevity in the career is you find a career that's going to pay out the things that you're looking for, not just financially, but when you understand your values, you understand the means by which you accomplish those values, you can be engaged in it more and more on every day, and you can be more focused on it. You can talk about it with people that are around you. And I just think it's way more fulfilling when you get clear on that kind of stuff. It allows you to love what you do way more often.
Great, Brett. Brett, great stuff, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you again to the contribution, not only to obviously your team members who are part of the company, but also to the many people that know that you associate with. I know you're always open to giving counsel. You're so supportive of our core services. I mean, you're just you're the whole package, man. It's going to be exciting to see as you continue to grow and build and succeed. It's going to be an exciting thing to observe and be a part of. So thank you for everything, Brett. Thank you for being with us today.
I'm so grateful for having you guys having me on. I appreciate it a lot.
All right, brother. Okay, let's close up with some affirmations.